So now we have, last but not least, we have an amazing guy who has been doing business insurance forever. I have known Joe Chiarella for, I don't even know how many years I have known Joe now, but he is definitely the expert when it comes to business insurance. And he can help you. He's going to share with you some of the things to look for, commercial insurance for small businesses. And Joe, thank you so much for being here today. Please take a couple of extra minutes. I know that you have some time and we have a little bit of extra time. So go ahead and take a couple extra minutes and then we'll do the Q&A after you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Veronica. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for the introduction, the warm, kind introduction, obviously. And it's funny, you had mentioned 17 years that you started the Martini Network. I think I was there at the first one, or one of the first ones in Vero. So that's kind of dating myself. But it's been a pleasure to see you grow and watch the organization flourish over the years. So thank you for that. Last but certainly the least is everyone's favorite insurance topic is commercial insurance, especially almost 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night. So I'm going to go ahead and do my screen share now, if that's okay. And let me just put this together here. Here we go. Can everybody see this?
Not yet. It's coming though.
It's coming. Okay. How about now?
There you go.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. So, obviously I was asked to come in and speak about business insurance for small business owners. It's one of the most frustrating and expensive things that a new business owner has to onboard is insurance. You do what you do well. Obviously, you have a trade or a practice out there. The last thing you want to do is stop what you're doing and earning revenue by dealing with insurance. So this is hopefully going to be kind of a compass for people to follow as it relates to that process. So we're going to go skip ahead a little bit. And well, give me 1 second. Okay. All right, we'll do it that way. Okay, so just a brief introduction. This is the agenda for the night. It's going to be about who I am, my credentials, obviously behind it. Choosing the right agent is extremely important in this process, and we'll get into why that is. Different types of insurance for small businesses, the quoting process, reviewing actual terms, policy audits, and final thoughts. I bet you didn't realize you'd be selling and working in insurance tonight, but here we are. So my credentials, obviously I've been in the business for over 23 years. 17 of those have been networking with Veronica. I've worked for in the past several of the national retail agencies. So the big shops in the country that do the corporate risk stuff for the multi-million dollar companies. I've done that over the years. About 6 years ago, I brought it home. I decided to open my own agency here in town. Part of the Sihle Insurance Group. We've got 9 locations in the state, and I'm a partner of that firm, and we've got over 200 employees. So we do all lines, including commercial risk, which is really my specialty. That's the next line here. I did create a university for the next generation of insurance agents. Why that's important is because we're running into basically a block here with the older generation, and now I'm part of that, who are going to be retiring in the next 10 years. Unfortunately, there's a wide gap between where I am and the folks coming up from the new generations. So what I've tried to do is to kind of create something that can give back to that generation, give them some sort of direction and focus instead of just get a license and go out and figure it out. That's usually the status quo. So the university I created is that mechanism for the young people to come in and learn the business. I've also got a consultancy that I put together called Co-Insurance. It's basically a risk strategy mitigation company. It's separate from selling and navigating the insurance world, basically giving people a second look, if you will, at what they're buying in the community and the marketplace, because it can be problematic, and we'll get into why. And more recently, I've just joined the advisory board of the National Financial Educators Council. That's a national board of financial services members who basically pool their resources and provide expertise to each other in different fields in the financial industries. And that's been a real blessing as well. So we'll move on. Okay, choosing the right agent. This is probably, this is why I put this first. This is probably the most important process of all of this. An insurance agent is a professional who sells insurance policies and helps clients choose the right coverage based on their specific needs. That's a very kind of general vanilla statement of what the agent is. Really, what an agent should be is they should be your advocate in the world between yourself, your business, and the insurance marketplace. There is a fallacy out there that insurance agents are basically just vendors. They're order takers. If you have a business and I need general liability insurance because that's what my contract says with the county or with another vendor, go get me liability insurance. And sure, there are agents out there that'll run out to the marketplace, put it together, and come back with a general liability policy just as asked. It's got to be cheap. It's got to be fast. That's not the right type of agent for you, because really what you need from somebody in the market, in the insurance world, is someone who's going to basically go to bat for you, understand your business, go out to the marketplace and find coverage that protects you from the world. Obviously the intermediary position here is that the agents fighting with the insurance companies to get you the best rate, but there's terms behind that. There's limitations, there's exclusions, there's problems that you may not see. They have to explain that to you. Unfortunately, we have too many professionals in our industry, I use that term lightly, who will send you an email that says, see attached quote and tell me if you have any questions. I kind of equate that to going to a doctor and getting an x-ray, and the doctor gives you the x-ray and says, here's your x-ray, read it and let me know if you have any questions. We'll show in a minute why this is problematic, but the agent should be walking you through the process. Maybe the goal is to be, cheapest in the bunch. Okay, that's fine. But what comes with cheap? Is the policy full of holes? Does it give you exposure to unpaid claims? Which then leads into, obviously, the big problem is that people hate insurance. Why do they hate insurance? Because you pay all this money. I hear it every day. We pay all this money to insurance companies. They pay no claims. Well, insurance is a contract in its most basic form. The insurance company agrees to pay in the case of certain events for the exchange of premium that you give to the company. And the unfortunate side is that if you don't know the contract or can't understand the terms of the contract, then how can you make an informed decision on buying coverage? And unfortunately, in the beginning, a lot of people are kind of just hit it fast, hit it hard. Let's get the cheapest thing going so we can start the business. And then something happens where you're surprised at the outcome. The right agent should be understanding the forms, explaining them to you, giving you protections versus or in balance of price versus someone who's not an expert. See attached. That's the most common thing I see. They sell you cheap versus protection. They can't or won't answer questions when you come to them and say, what does this mean? Well, I don't know. Or let me go back to underwriting. Or they just refuse to communicate at all. They just don't call you back or don't respond to emails or texts. Those are the biggest dynamics. Now, I will say that not all agencies are built the same. Just like not all doctors or construction companies are built the same. They will advertise and they'll say, we do business, life, health, everything, and we're the one-stop shop for insurance. And the reality is that they might have a market or two and they throw it on a website, but they don't really know the insurance business, especially on the commercial side, because it's very complex. Myself, I do corporate risk only, but I don't know life insurance. I'm licensed for it, but I refer that out, going back to what Veronica said before about collaboration. More recent case, actually, as of today, we've got a fleet of buses, public transit buses that needed some insurance. I know that there are markets and agents out there that specialize in that class of business. Sure, I can go down the world and try to find, terms that are expensive and painful for the client. But I called 4 agents that I know that do transportation risks, and I called them and brought them in and basically gave them the information so they can go and do what they do best. That's what a professional should do for you. Don't try to square peg and round hold it, which a lot of agents will do. But you've got to get references, referrals, understand who they insure and go ask those people what they feel or what they think. Licensing is public record. You can go online and see how long your agent's been licensed. Going back to Lucy with her social media, LinkedIn tells on everybody, right? So you can go back and see how long they've been in the business, how long they've been licensed, what companies they've worked for, how often have they moved from company to company? Will they be there tomorrow or are they going to job hop to another place? do the due diligence. It's there for you, and it's there and available. So that's usually what I recommend. Skipped ahead a little bit, but types of business insurance, everything from general liability, workers' comp. You've heard all these things before: commercial auto, property, professional, directors and officers. Not all of these things are going to be relevant to a small business. Some might be more than others, depending on the trade or the industry. So obviously, workers' comp is a big deal for contractors. Who's a 1099, who's a paid employee, how does coverage work? Property insurance, we're just coming out of a really problematic market for property. It's getting better. Homeowners is coming down, commercial property is coming down. However, auto is now going up. So you're going to see rate increases on the auto side. So agents who forecast the rates and the market trends are going to be hugely helpful, because you can obviously go back and plan for it. So those are things that are very important. The quoting process, the dreading quoting process. Okay, that's exactly what it looks like on my desk right now, by the way. So when you've got a client who walks in the door, an unfortunate reality of our world is that you've got agents who are paid commissions to sell policies. The fatal flaw in that model is that agents, by design, are going to go after where the premium is, because they want to get paid. The bigger the client, the bigger they get, the bigger paycheck they get. The more the renewal goes up, the more they get, increases on their paycheck. So, they're going to go after the big fish. And unfortunately, the smaller business world gets shuffled around. There's a lot of work, not a lot of reward. So unfortunately, they get the least amount of care. So you're going to call in, try to get a quote from some agency. They're likely going to forward you to the new person who just started and doesn't know any better. They're going to intake your information and go out to the marketplace and try to find you something that makes sense. Hopefully it does make sense. But I'll go in a second here about how the quoting process works. But when an agent goes out to market for you, these are a partial list of all the things that they're going to have to provide to an underwriter. You're obviously, a lot of this stuff is available online, but corporate entity information, your business operations, your website, social media, property appraiser website, building information. What was the construction type of the buildings, year built, updates. All those things help risks model better, so it drives pricing down. What do you do? Classifications and exposure. Are you a florist shop, or are you a construction, company? It all matters. Does the agent do a site visit? That's hugely important, because they've got to understand what they're insuring before they even hit the property. So, that's important as well. Gross sales, gross payrolls, prior experience. The owner might have to do a bio. Supplemental applications, those are getting longer and longer. Cyber liability, now those are up to about 18 pages long with, VPN data and everything that you and I don't know. We have to go to an IT professional to get that information. Vehicles lists, driver schedules, and loss runs, claim reports. How does your history trend on your claim histories? Like, do you have problematic claims? Do you have severity, frequency? What's the real issue? So those things are all required to get just even a quote or an underwriter to look at it. When you do get terms, this is what it looks like: a bunch of numbers, a bunch of labels and things that you're just trying to navigate through. So when an agent says, here's your quote, see attached, this is usually what you see. Well, this is particular one is a bar risk. I cut out some of the policies that we're looking at from a competing agent who basically told them to see attached, right? Who was a cheap premium. What a great deal. I don't have to pay a lot of money, but there's some relevant things that are right off the bat that are excluded. And I do these reviews for clients separate from the world of selling insurance. But when you look at the next page, the hidden details, this is why people don't like insurance. Uh-oh, you're a bar and you have assault and battery exclusions. You're only limited to the coverage of the premises you occupy, not everything outside the walls. So if you're doing catering, well, why is my catering event not covered? Well, it's because the carrier puts in exclusions like this that limit your ability to get coverage. That's why it's cheap, right? Volunteer workers, maybe not a big deal. Business income, yeah, that's a big deal. Cyber incidents, these are things that are basically problematic for the bar, just as a business covering operations. A lot of definitions I put in here in my review. There's some things here that are not covered. Why is my claim not protected? Why is my claim not covered? Well, because you bought a policy that had exclusions in it. The agent never explained it to you. So very important to understand all of these terms and conditions when the agent does present. If they're not explaining these things to you, go find another agent. I mean, who can basically, that's the next phase of all this. Policy audits, I'm getting close to the end. I see my time running down. Policy audits are very painful. In the beginning of the policy term, you're asked to provide what you think you're going to sell and pay your employees in the beginning. At the end, the carrier has the right to come in and true you up and basically figure out what you actually did, or sold, or paid. And if there's a giant discrepancy, you're going to owe money. And conversely, if you do less than what you anticipated, you're going to get a credit. So carriers make mistakes, auditors can make mistakes. It's important to have an agent who can walk you through this. And if there is a mistake, identify it and walk it off the ledge so you're not owing a ton of money. So again, this is where the pain kind of hits the road on these kind of situations. So some final thoughts: interview your agent, get referrals, qualify the agency experience, understand the capabilities of the agency itself. What are their appointed markets? Do they have enough support staff? Do they have extra services like claims and loss controls? Bigger doesn't always mean better. We can get into more of that later if you have questions, because I'm running out of time. But see attached emails versus an explanation of terms. And those are the final thoughts and takeaways. So with that, I just want to say thank you. And I think I just made my time. And Veronica, thank you for the opportunity once again.
Thank you, Joe. You did amazing. And
Thank you very much. It's my first time, so thank you for being kind.
I doubt that by 100 years, no way. But talk about like saving people time and aggravation. Like I found too, like in homeowners policies, even it's completely separate from you, but people are excluded from this and excluded from that. And they really need to find an agent that they can trust and work with that will be in for their best interest. So
Absolutely.
thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing that. That's amazing.